incinerator thing was prime, 083. The molecular chemical thingy had 137, the acid room had 149.
You remember all that in your head?
I've been at war with not only motherfuckers around me, but with my own motherfucking self. Because I'm really a nice guy.
Hello everyone and welcome to Revit Pure Live episode number 3. If it's your first time on the live show, I've started doing this in December, and the first session was by myself and I talk about balusters. And the second session I did earlier in January was with Jose Oliveira from DiRoots plugins. So that was a fun discussion, and we showcase the amazing free plugins made by DiRoots. But this episode now, I'm going to be talking for about an hour about creating a residential template in Revit. So just to get started, I'm going to switch view here. All right, sorry about this. Can you hear me now? No sound. All right. Can you guys hear me? Now we can. All right. So we got a little glitch. It's all fixed now. Thanks for the patience. Still only the third live stream. So what I was saying, I'm Nicolas Catelier. I'm the creator of the Revit Pure website, where I've been teaching tutorials for Revit since the last 5 years. You can find on the website free tutorials on the blog. I also have a package called Basics, another one called Design. And I do have a template that will be used as the basis now. I know you were thirsting our attention, just glancing at the chat. But yeah, there's a basic template that I'm going to be using. So I had a request recently from a Revit Pure reader called Arun Malik. So he's in the chat right now. So hi, Arun. Glad to be here. And he asked me to help him create a custom template for his residential work. And while creating this template, I had a lot of really interesting requests that had me scratching my head for a while. And I asked Haroon if he would gladly share it with the public, with Revit Pure readers, and he accepted. So thanks to Haroon. So what I'm be doing in this show is I'll be starting from the Revit Pure template, and I'll be showing all the steps I took to modify it. Of course, I won't be able to go through the whole thing, but I think there's so many little interesting things I made for Arun that I'm sure that you guys will appreciate. So if you're interested in the template, you can get it there. Or you can also start from default Autodesk template if you want, that's fine. And I'm gonna show you to another URL. It's revitpure.com/live. It shall also be in the description below. So right here, I added a link. So this is for the show notes. So here, I basically set up a few slides with everything I'm going to be talking about today. Hopefully, if I have enough time, there's quite a lot. But I'm going to be using this as the basis for this presentation. So just let me... All right, so I do have my PDF here. So the very first thing is that I do when if I were mandated to create a custom template. Let me go to Revit here. So this is Arun's template with this company, WeDesignBuild. So make sure to contact Arun if you want great residential work in the Toronto area in Ontario. So, but anyway, this is the Revit Pure Basics template. And something that I do in my template is to name all the families, all the types using a prefix called RP here. And why I'm doing that is to differentiate the in-house families from any families who might be brought in from outside. You know, if you download families anywhere, quickly you'll be able to spot them. So, you know, it's kind of a foreign family, which can be okay, but maybe it means you might need to rework the family so it is up to your standards. But always helpful to know with a prefix what is a homemade family. And something that can be used to quickly do that is I'm going to go to the DiRoots tab here. So last episode was about DiRoots. I'm going to be using their plugin here. This one is called Family Revisor. There is the window. And here, it is a free plugin. You can download it for free on the Autodesk App Store, or just go to DiRoots website. I'm going to the editor here. And then find and replace, what I'm going to do, I'm going to type RP with underscore like this. And I'm going to replace it with let's say RPL, since this is Revit Pure Live, with an underscore also. So I'm going to click on Find All. So it's working. So you see for every family that you found with RP underscore, the plugin highlighted in blue. I'm going to click on Replace All here. And so to complete the step, you have to click on Update Model, just like this. And so this was for the family name. And then I think, pretty sure you also have to switch to type name. So we made this for families. Now we're going to do the same thing for type. Going to click on Find All once again. And you can see that the type here, names, are still set to RP underscore. So once again, I'm going to click on Replace All. When the pencil icon appears, you can click on Update Model. Just like this. So in a few steps, we basically changed all the prefixes that were used to be from RP, and we switched to RPL. So using the great free DiRoots plugin called Family Revisor. Something else, in the default Revit Pure template, I'm using a font called Swiss CNBT. But for Arun, for example, in this template, he asked me to use Arial Narrow. So in the past, I've done this boring task manually. You have to go in all the families and replace the font used. So it's a pretty boring task. There's a plugin called BIM Tools by Sophistic that allows you to replace the font. So I'm going to go to the BIM tools here. There's multiple tools, but the one I'm interested in is change font. Gonna click here. I hope it doesn't crash. All right, so what I'm gonna do is on the left, there's a filter. I'm gonna use text font equal to, and I'm gonna select Swiss CNBT. And you can see everything is going to be affected. So it's not just the text for the text nodes. It's for use in dimensions, symbol, tags, and title blocks. So that's pretty amazing. Even in the title blocks, you can quickly change the font. So here I'm going to select text font, and I'm going to switch from, I'm going to select Arial Narrow. So you could replace like the text color, sizing, and you can even rename the family, although I will turn that off by default because I don't like the way it names the family. So for now, I'm going to uncheck that. But now I'm going to click on OK. So sometimes this is a little slow. It's kind of a big operation to do. All right. So it should have been working. Let me check. I do have template standards here. So if I click on any random text nodes, and I'm going to click on edit type, you can see that it's now Arial narrow, and it used to be Swiss. Although in the title block here, in the properties, it's still written Swiss. So you might have some job to do to change the type. Although that can be done automatically also, if I'm not mistaken, although this isn't the project. But if I click on find and replace here, I could search for Swiss in the entire project. And so everywhere it's written Swiss, I'm gonna replace that with Arial narrow, for example. So I'll click on replace all. So this doesn't work for the type, but here, for example, I do have a legend view where everywhere it was written Swiss, it's now written Arial narrow. So pretty helpful, right? All right, so that was to replace the font. Already automated task that, if you'd done manually, it could have taken, multiple days of boring work. So we're going to be talking about Dynamo. Maybe some of you don't even know what Dynamo is. It's visual programming, although I guess most of you know about it a little bit. So in this, I'm not going to show how to make a script, but there's a few things that the Family Revisor plugin by DiRoots doesn't do by itself. For example, if I go to the Manage tab, go to Materials, you can see my materials here. They still have that RP prefix, and let's say I want to switch that to RPL. Well, Family Revisor doesn't allow that, at least not to my knowledge. So by browsing online, I managed to find a script. So Dynamo is pretty good at that. And by the way, here, maybe I went quickly in the Manage tab. I usually like to store my script in a folder that are accessible from the Dynamo player. So I went here, and there's a script called Rename Family. It might not be there by default for you. I guess I'll have to send the script for people who aren't interested. It's not there right now, but I guess I'll add it to the Revit Pure Live link that is in the description. But I'm going to click on the pencil. All right, so there's a few notes. Everything is correct, but just make sure if you haven't really used Dynamo before, you might need to install a package. So you have to go to the package menu here, search for a package, and the name of the package that you need is called Clockwork. So you just need to type in Clockwork like this. And I guess it would be Dynamo 2. So you have to click here to install the latest version. In my case, it's already installed. Else, if you don't do that, this node might not work. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you how to program. I'm just going to show you what you can do with it. Here I have the element type. I'm going to switch from family. Instead, I'm going to go to material. Material like this. And here you could filter, like not include all the materials. That's not really my case. I'm just going to remove the text in the search for, so there's no filter. And in the code block, I'm going to type in RP and replace with RPL. So it's similar to what a Family Revisor can do, but there's a little more steps. It's a little less user-friendly, since of course you need to go through Dynamo itself. And then normally it should work, but you need to click on a run here. And the run started. Run completed with warning. Let me check what is... The input is not a subclass of element. Oh yeah, that's right. Let me check with another category. Maybe with fill region. I'm going to try with fill region. Oh yeah, with fill region it works. So that there might be a small issue with material, but I'm going to have a look at the fill region. Minimize this here. It didn't change. Maybe it's not the right script. Anyway, regarding the Dynamo script, I might need to come back to it later. I'll add it, the detail in the show notes about how to properly use it. I'll make, I guess I'll add an addendum because I have so much content here. But anyway, what I mean is you can automate all this stuff, renaming families, renaming fill regions, renaming materials. I'm going to come back for how to properly use the script to rename materials. I don't want to waste too much time about this. All right, so everybody enjoying the content so far? Having a quick glance at the chat. All right, I'll take a little water. And don't hesitate if you have any question during the show. Go straight to the chat. So back to the presentation. I'll go through the project browser. Something that you might see in the Revit Pure default project browser is that the views are classified in quite a simple way. And depending on the clients, and that's the case with Arun, what I've made for his template is that I create multiple view types. Like here I have floor plan existing, floor plan demolition, floor plan new, and electrical plans, for example. And I do have a new number prefix, so the views are well classified. And so the floor plans would be start with number 1. The ceiling plan are number 2, 3D views number 3, elevations 4, sections 5, detail view 6, and drafting view 7. And then all the sub views you would use point 1, point 2. And I like to name views using this prefix method. So going back here, I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'm going to show you the principle. Let's say I have view number level 1 here. I'm going to go to edit type, click on duplicate, and I'm going to call it 1.1 floor plan new, for example. So you can see a new category has been created here. And if you go here, I can switch. Let's say this view is using the floor plan category. I could switch the view right here like this. And let's say I duplicate this view. Why not with detailing? Let's say I want to create an existing plan category. I could click on edit type, click on duplicate again. And it will be 1.0 floor plan existing. So you see I have a floor plan existing, floor plan new. There's multiple ways to organize the project browser. I do have a course specifically about that, so we could talk about that for hours. But I do like this way of being organized by just renaming the floor plans. It might not work for everybody. On large firms, organizing parameters are a great way to work. For smaller template, smaller companies, I really like this way. It's quite simple and it's a good way to keep it organized. So after 30 minutes, when do you get to the residential template? That's a good question. I'll admit this, I like to talk about all these little tricks to keep the template organized. But don't worry, I'm going to get on some specific residential stuff. Going back to the PDF. So that's about the project browser. Now I'll be talking about setting up phases. So with Arun's template, it wanted to show the existing walls in the new plan using a gray pattern here. So again, like using phases, I could do a whole presentation on that, but I'm going to quickly showcase how to do it. So I'm going to go to the Manage tab, click on Phases, go to Graphic Overrides, and here on patterns, I'm going to select the existing pattern. For cut, click here. I'm going to make the foreground visible. And for the background, I'm going to set a solid fill just like this. There we go. And here in Show Complete, which is the face filter that I do like to use, I'm going to select Overridden instead. And so this is a new view. I'm going to switch the face filter here. I'm going to switch to Show Complete. And now watch this. I'm going to take these walls and I'm going to assign them to face created existing. And now, as you can see, they appear with a solid gray pattern. But as you may notice though, the lines appear to be gray. I don't like that. I'm going to go back to the Faces menu. On Graphic Overrides, as you can see here, for the existing walls, there's a colored override. So I'm going to select this and click on Clear Overrides. Because I don't like the gray line, I just want the pattern. So that works. Just glancing at the questions. Will this be recorded? Yes, it is. You can. It's on YouTube, so you can watch it again later. And somebody asked, "What is your headphone brand? Is it Sennheiser?" Yeah, it's a Sennheiser. All right, let's go back to what's next. Creating a door with angled swings. Something that Haroon asked me is to create a door with a swing like that you can customize. I'm going to go to his template. Just a second. Not this one. Oh, there we go. So this is WeDesignBuild's template. Oh, I do have a wall here already. So if I select this door, there's a swing angle parameter here that I can change and adjust. So that's a pretty cool feature. But I already have a video about that specifically. If I type swing angle door family Revit. Yeah, you can. So just type that name on Google, Revit tutorial, create a customizable door plan swing, and it showcases all the steps that you can follow to create such a door. Creating a custom door tag. So we're getting deeper in the residential aspect of the template. So for Michael, who wanted to talk about more things residential. Okay, so going back to the base, this is Haroon's template. So you can see here that I have a tag that displays the dimensions of the door. And you can switch it. For example, this displays new door, as built, and custom, which you can type in with anything. Like, why not cool door, right? So I'm gonna show you how to do this, because right now I'm kind of using this boring number tag, and for residential work that people don't really use that kind of tag, maybe kind of big residential project, but here I'm talking more about houses. So I'm gonna go to File, I'm going to create a new family. And I'm going to go to annotations. I know depending on your country, this folder might be a little different. So I have door tag here. All right, so the first thing, I'm going to create a label. So in the Create tab, I'm going to click here like this. And I'm going to... So what did we have? We have the width first and then the height. So I'm going to add the width by clicking on the arrows here. And I'm going to add the height as well, like this. So you can see there's both these values, but there should be a difference between the two. So I'm going to, in the suffix here, I'm going to hit spacebar, then X, like this. So the values are separated by X. But then again, we don't want to use the feet. I want to use the inches, which is standard for residential work. So you can see there's a little button here, Edit Parameters Units Format. So I'm going to click on this. And instead of using project settings, I'm going to switch the units to inches. Actually, you should use fractional inches. And the rounding, I'm going to set it to the nearest inch. Like this. I'm going to do the same thing for the height. So clicking here, I don't use the project settings. I use fractional inch, rounding to the nearest inch, just like this. So you can see, well, the value is still in feet, right? Well, it's because this is a sample value, so we can just write whatever we want. It's just inside the family. Once the tag is loaded in the project, it's going to be different. So I could write anything I want, really, like this. But it's just to test if my tag is going to work. So let's say there's other things going on with the tag, but for now, let's say this is enough. I'm going to save it as door tag and load it in my new template. Okay, it's been loaded here. So I'm going to delete this one. Okay, something as you can see is, I could switch the scale though. Let's say I put this scale. Yeah, that's a little better. But let's say I still think it's a little big. So I'm going to go back to the family. I'm going to select the label here and I'm going to change it to 2.4 millimeters is usually good. And let's say I want to use Arial narrow here, like this. There we go. But then again, I'm going back to Haroon's template, and you can see that I have a few fields here. I have existing door, new door, so I can switch from one and the other. To be clear, this is not linked directly to the phasing of the door, so you have to be sure it matches what you have here. It's not directly linked, so not the best BIM process, but to my knowledge, there's not a direct way to do it. So to do this thing, I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to create a text value. So I click on text here, click here, and I'm going to enter existing door. And usually it's good to have it centered. So existing door, again, I'm going to modify the text. So it is 2.4 millimeters. Just like this, Arial narrow. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, so this is an important step here. I have the visible parameter here, and there's a little box. I'm going to click on the box, click on the little icon here to create a new parameter. So this should be by type. I'm going to group by visibility here. It can be a family parameter. It doesn't have to be a share parameter. I'm going to call it, I think, what did I write? New door? I guess it's new door. Oh no, it was existing door. Let me rename that. So you can rename it by clicking on doing that again. If you click here, family types, you can click on the parameter, click on the pencil icon, and I'm going to switch this to existing door. And then I'm going to copy and paste this field. So paste it, align to same place. And I'm going to call this new door. And I'm going to click again on the rectangle. You can see there's a little symbol here. That's okay. I'm going to click on this. And now this is going to be new door. Again, a group parameter under visibility, just like this. And so you can check and uncheck the parameters here. I'm going to load this to the project so you can see what happens. So you can see right now I have both text values at once. So I'm going to go to edit type. And you can see I just need to uncheck, like I could rename this tag. I'm going to call it existing, for example, and uncheck new door. And then I duplicate this, I call it new. There we go. So you have your tag, you can switch from one to the other. And I'm gonna show a little trick, just because why not? Something you can do. In the formula here, I could call it, I will say not existing door. And what this does is you can never have both parameters checked at the same time. So the new door is always going to be the opposite of existing door. So just a cool trick, so you make sure you don't have any visibility issues with your tag. Of course, in the case of Arun's template, we had more values, but I think that's enough for now. You do get the idea. Just glancing at the chat to see what's going on. How old are you, mate? I am 34. Is your template available for meter system too? Yes, the template is available in both metric and imperial. Whenever you purchase, you get both units. If for people like me who are in Canada, where we use both units. What is the metric system in USA? Do they use millimeters in Revit at all? I think in the US it's mostly in imperial, except maybe for some sites. Even there, I'm not sure. Maybe someone from the USA can answer, but I think it's almost exclusively in imperial units. Can you give us the link where to purchase the basic package, please? Yes, absolutely. So if you go to revitpure.com/basics, you have the full basics learning package. Let me show the screen again. Yeah, revitpure.com/basics for the full learning package, which does include the template. Or if you just want the template, you can go to revitpure.com/template. And it's $99 for the template if you want to reproduce what I'm doing here. All right. What's next? Okay. How long have you been using Revit? 10 years now. Since I've been out of college, basically. So that was in 2011. So yeah, it's been 10 years this year. Okay, creating a custom window tag. What is interesting with this is that it does include the square footage. So I'm going to jump back in Revit. This is Arun's template. Do I have a good view of this? Yeah, so there's a tag, and it does include the width, the height, like I did in the door, but also the square footage. Which is, you kind of have a few steps to take if you want to reproduce the same thing. So I go back to the Revit Pure template. I'm going to go to File, New, Family, Annotation, and Window Tag right here. So first I'm going to create a label and do the same thing that I did For the door family, add the width, add the height. Click on this icon here to switch to use fractional inches rounded to the nearest inch, like that. Same thing for the height. I'm going to use fractional inch, nearest inch, that's it. Sample value, just for sample's sake, I'm going to use something like this. And in suffix again, spacebar X. So right now I have this, it displays the width and the height. But now I don't want the area of the window. But something that you might see here is that there's no area field, right? So what do? You cannot, you don't have any area. Well, we do have the calculated value tool just right here that you can use to calculate the area. So I'm going to click on this button and call it area. And you have to make sure the type to select area here. And in the formula, I'm going to select the width. I'm going to add the multiply symbol. Click again and select the height. Just like this. Rachel asked, if you round to the inch, why do you use fractional inches? That's a great question. I think it's out of habits. I never use decimal inches. That's a good point. It doesn't really matter if you to set the fractional inches or not, if you're going to round them to the inch anyway. But anyway, here to the suffix, I'm going to press spacebar and equal symbol, like this. Okay, so this should be working. I created a formula to calculate this. I'm going to click here to modify the units. Right now it's square meters. I'm going to set that to square feet. Rounding 2 decimal places should be good enough. I can add a symbol. Let's say I'm going to use SF and suppress trailing zeros. So basically you can, I will activate this is I don't want to have like 16.00, for example. So I just want 16 if it's rounded. There we go. So I'm going to save this. Window tag. And I'm going to load it in the Revit Pure template. All right, and I'm going to delete this one and go to the Annotate tab, click on Tag by Category, click on the window. And so it seems to be working. It's a little big though. Again, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to change the type. I'm going to reduce it to 2.4 millimeters and I'm going to set it to Arial Narrow. There we go. And right now it's horizontal. That's annoying. You can set it here in the options bar. You can switch to vertical like this. And there you have your tag. And in the DiRoots template, I had something like this with existing, new, as build, whatever. Well, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's the same principle as with the doors. All right, so anyone that has any questions about windows and door tags? Else we're going to move on to the next topic. Just going to take a little sip. Sparkling water. Usually on the evening sessions I do get a little beer, but it's the afternoon here right now, so just with water. All right. what is next? A custom room tag. All right, and what is interesting with this one is that we have both the square footage and the square meters. So I'm going to jump back to Revit here. So for this, I'm going to modify the room tag that I have by default. And so if I go back to the rooms template, let me see what I have. So I had the room number and I have the square footage. So I don't, for a residential template, it's true that you might not have to use room numbers. So I'm going to delete all this stuff. What is this? The area. Okay, I'm going to keep this. So let's say this one, I want to use it, make it bold. Not this one though. And okay, here I want to have both units. Like you can see here, I have square feet and I have it in metric. How do you do that? I'm going back to my family, click on edit label, and I'm going to create a calculated value by clicking here. I'm going to call it area metric, and it's a area type parameter, and the formula, I'm going to select area like this, and sample value here, I'm going to put square feet, and for this one I'm going to put square meters like this. So I do have my calculated value, but then once again I need to click here to modify the units format, and I'm going to uncheck this. And I'm going to use square meters. Once again, 2 decimal places should be good. I'm going to use the M2 symbol, and I'm going to suppress the trailing zeros. And as you can remember, I did have this little symbol between my metric value, and I'm going to add a space for the suffix for this value. So what's going on here? Not long enough. Oh, strange. I'm going to load it and see what's going on. So I had a visibility issue. That's why it didn't appear in the project. So I'm just going to remove, well, I could set up to area actually. And if I go to my family types, I'm just going to activate the area, and number, I don't use it. I'm going to remove it just like this. And again, I need to use the good one. Areas uncheck. I'm going to rename it name and area. And we're going to see what happens. All right, it works. So I have both units here in my room tag. Just having a look at the questions. Do you offer student discount on your template? Yeah, Leon, if you want a student discount, we do offer them. Send me an email at nick@revitpr.com to claim your student code. Revit as alternate units for dimensioning. Rachel, yes, I'm going to showcase how to do it later on. Do you record these videos? Yes, it's going to be accessible on YouTube after the recording is done. Somebody asked a question about stairs. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to go into that later, but that's something I might answer in the blog post. And about the tag, yeah, the ceiling tag, I'm going, not the ceiling tag, but the ceiling height. Yeah, just me. Yeah, that's a good question here. As you can see, there's a value, but it is a text. There's a ceiling height parameter here. So no, it's not a BIM way to work, all right? And there's a little trick that you can use to match the ceiling height in the tag to the real ceiling. But what if, you have different ceiling height in the same room? So that's not something that you can easily compute. So I did use a kind of a text label here, just to show you how it's done. If I remove the value like this, it completely disappears. But the moment I enter something, the prefix ceiling height appears. All right. So I hope that's clear enough for the room tags, and to have it in the BOUT units, just like this. Okay, something interesting that Haroon had in his template is he had a color scheme like that, which is sorted by units. So he had common area, unit 1 and unit 2. For example, he have 2 units in the same house, and the city requirements ask him to show the square footage of each category. So he asked me to create a layout for this, and I'm going to show you how to do it. First, you need to create a shared parameter. So to do it, I'm going to go to the Manage tab, go to Share Parameters. So I'm going to create a new shared parameter file here just for fun, RPL test 2. So parameters, that could be a whole topic. Maybe I'll do a show just about parameters at some point. For now, I can follow these steps. I'm going to create a new group, call it rooms. It's always nice to have your shared parameters well sorted. I'm going to create a new parameter. And here I like to have a smart names with a prefix and a number. Why? Because if you have many of them, they can be ordered. And this is one of your parameters that you've created yourself. Because sometimes when you import families, a bunch of useless parameters will also be imported. You don't want them. And by using the system, which parameters are yours that you've created yourself and which are kind of foreign parameters that you don't really want. So I'm going to call it units like this. Type of parameter is going to be text. All right. And then you're not done. You need to go to project parameters, click on add. I'm going to select shared parameters here, click on select, and select the new parameters I've just created. I'm going to group it under data. I'm going to assign it to rooms. So I hope I didn't go too fast. I still have a lot to cover. So I want to show most of it. And now you can see in my rooms, I do have this parameters that appears called R01 units. And I'm going to try it. I'm going to call this unit 1. And this one is going to be called unit 2. And now I'm going to go to the Annotate tab. I'm going to click on Color Fill Legend. And I'm going to click anywhere on my view. And then Revit asks what space type you want. I'm going to select rooms. Color scheme, I'm going to select. I can select, I'll start by name, but I'm going to change it anyway. Don't worry about it. So you can see now there's 2 colors, but they're based on the room name. That's not what I want. I'm going to go click on Edit Scheme here. And I'm going to duplicate the scheme by clicking here. I'm going to call it units. So color is going to be based on units. And so now I have unit 1 and unit 2. Let's say I keep it like this for right now. And there you go. So just to show it, I'm going to create a few more rooms. So let's say, see right now the rooms, there's no rooms in these areas. If I create new rooms like this, at first they appear white because they don't have any unit set up, but I could create a new one. Let's say this one is called common, and there's a new color, but this one I'm going to switch it to unit 1, and you can see it takes the same color as the other room, which has been assigned to unit 1. All right, so is it clear for the color scheme? Everybody managed to follow along? Maybe I went a little quickly. You can rewind if I went too fast. But there's still a lot I want to go through, and it's already almost 4 p.m. So I'm trying to speed it up a little bit. Maybe I'll just do another session at some point with what I didn't have to cover. Still, don't hesitate if you have any questions. Taking a sip, and I'll get going. So obviously this might extend a little further than 1 hour. Might last 1 hour 15 minutes or something. What is next? All right, we did that already, creating a color scheme based on units. All right, this is going to be fun, creating a room finish schedule. You can see the schedule here, and there's a ton of custom parameters: floor, base, wall, and ceiling, material, and finish. So it's not that complicated to use that, but there's a few parameters that were not already by default in Revit. And what I like to do is create custom shared parameters for all of these categories. And once again, I'm going to use a DiRoots plugin here called what is called ParaManager. So it's a free plugin. Download it. It's great. I'm going to use that to quickly create a bunch of parameters for all these finishes. So I'm going to the DiRoots tab, and I have ParaManager right here. Going to select that. So I'm going to create add parameter. I'm going to click a few times like this, and if you've created parameters in Revit, you know it can be long, really boring to do so, right? And now they're classified as shared parameters, which is great. So I'm going to call it the first. So it's a room parameter. So again, I'm using the R prefix 02, and the first is floor. I'm going to call it floor mat for material. I'm going to copy this. This one is going to be R03 floor finish. And this one is going to be a base. So change the number. So you can see how quickly you can create all these parameters if you do it but with the in-house tools of Revit. This is super long, super boring. So base, finish. So I guess that's enough for now, you know. But in Harun's case, in his template, there was multiple more. And I can select multiple parameters at once by using Shift. And I'm going to use group under, going to use data here. It's a text parameter, that's fine, set to instance. I'm going to click on next. And here I'm going to select, them all actually. And click on categories. And I'm selecting the rooms category. And now I just need to click on apply. It's completed. And now if I want to create a room schedule for the rooms, all these parameters come up like this. and I can, it's text-based parameters. So if I go back to what I did for Haroon, this one, you can see that's the way I did the schedule, you know. So I hope you guys are pretty stoked about this ParaManager plugin by DiRoots. It's super useful. And it's great that they're free plugins. So still a lot to cover. I'm just halfway in my PDF. Maybe I won't have time to go to the whole thing, but okay, that's done. Yeah, just a little trick in the schedules. Let's say if I go back to the room schedule that I've created, obviously I only have 4 rooms. I'm going to add the room name here like this. I'm going to set it top. And I'm going to select 2 fields, floor mat and floor finish, and click on group. And here I'm going to call it floor. And I do the same thing for the base. I'm going to click on group and I call it base. And obviously I can rename all these materials. So this is material, this is finish. And now I can place the schedule in a sheet. And you can see what it looks like. You know, I have all these parameters for material and finish. Yeah. What is next? Creating dimensions in both units. We had a question about that. So I'm going to go to a plan view. And let's say I create dimensions, shortcut DI. I have my imperial dimensions here. First, something that my client Arun told me he didn't like this, the fractions here, told me, can you make dimensions that are rounded? And yes, you can. I'm going to click on edit type and I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it rounded. And then scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. So I uncheck use project settings and I'm going to round it to the nearest inch like that. So now this is rounded to the inch, but that's not all. If I go, let me just close this. If I go back to Haroon's template, you can see that below we indicate the value in metric, which is common in Canada. We like to show both units, especially in site plans like this. The surveyor usually works in metric. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I select the dimension, click on edit type. Click on alternate units format. And now it's millimeters. Let's say I want it in meters instead. I set it to 2 decimal places. I suppress trailing zeros and I set the unit like this. And alternate units prefix, I'm going to use this symbol, the bracket. Same thing for the suffix. Somebody says no sound. So if anyone else has sound issues, let me know. And alternate units, you need to activate them. I'm going to set them to below right here. And there we go. You have dimensions that showcase both units. And we managed to round the imperial value. All right, what is next? Creating a room schedule group by units. So if you remember, we created a plan view with the colors for each unit's category. Now, Haroon's asked me, can you create a schedule with the square feet, square meter, and the percentage. And yes, you need to use calculated values. I'm going to show you how to do it. Here, I'm going to create a schedule. If you go to, by the way, if you go to this presentation that you can download at revitpure.com/live, I do have a few steps here if you want to do it by yourself. Anyway, this is a room schedule, different one from the one we've created earlier. What I want is, it's pretty simple. I want area and I want units. That's it, really. In sorting and grouping, I'm going to sort by units. And I don't want to itemize every instance. So I don't want to have every room in the schedule. I want them to be grouped by units, just like this. So I have common, unit 1, and unit 2. So a question you might have is why unit 1 doesn't have the area. Good question. I'm going to go to formatting, select area. Right now it's no calculations. I'm going to switch it to calculate totals. Click on OK. And now here are the totals. Then I want the area in metric too. Why not? So I go back to fields. I click on calculated parameter here. And I'm going to name it area metric. And it's area type parameter. The formula, I'm just selecting area here. Again, I hope I don't go too fast. I want to make sure I go to the whole material I have prepared. If I go too fast, you can just rewind anyway. I hope it's okay for you. Let me know in the chat. Just like this. So I have my new area metric parameter. And here I'm going to calculate totals. So just if people have some sound issues, somebody in the chat says, reopen from blank to get sound to work, add same issues. So you might need to refresh your browser if you don't have any sound. Okay, so I have my area metric. I need to go to the field format. And once again, I'm going to change a unit to square meters, 2 decimal places, and I suppress the trailing zeros. Just like this. Isn't that beautiful, right? And finally, I want percentage value. Again, that's easy. Just click the calculated value here. And I select percentage. I will also name it percentage. Of area by grand total. So I have new percentage field, just like this. Okay, and now I do want to have the grand totals. So I'm going to activate the grand totals here. And here, instead of grand totals, I'm going to call it total building area. And it's going to be title and totals. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to move this a little bit. All right, and you can see the percentage. Let's say we want to have 100% displayed because it looks better. I'm going to go formatting, select the percentage field, and use calculate totals right here. And click on OK. There you go, I now have 100%. So I'm going just to place this on the sheet to see what it looks like. And I'm going to go back to what I had with a room schedule. So you can see, is it here? No, it's site plan. So a schedule did look like that. So I can rename the field. So this, I'm just going to call this units. By the way, this doesn't change the name of the parameter. It's just on this specific schedule that it changes. So here I'm going to call it SF. Here it's going to be square meter. Here it's going to be percentage symbol. and I'm going to group all these fields by selecting them all in the header. Click on group, and this is going to be under the area umbrella. Where did I place it? All right here. So this is already better. What could be better though is the grid size. So I'm going to go to the appearance. I'm going to the outline and use a thicker line. And I'm going to use grid in headers and footer. And I'm going to remove blank row before data here. And I can have a look right now, the title, header, and bodies are all using the same font. I'm going to switch to regular for the body. For the headers, I'm going to use bold, and for the title, I don't want to show it anyway. There we go. I'll go back to my view. You can see that this already looks great. But I want, if I go back to what I had, here you can see unit is much bigger. Well, you can override font for a certain field. So I'm going to select this, click on font here, and make it a little bigger, like this. There you go. So this is starting to look quite good. Finally, in what I've shown you, there was a color scheme. So if I go back, if you want to add some colors to your schedule, let's say I will select this one first. Shading, I'm going to use what color? This a little darker. There we go. So I can remember the code 159. I'm going to write that down. The RGB code, just right here. Let's say I want to use this for the units here. Shading once again. And maybe for these values, I want them to be a little lighter. Oh, no, borders, shading. Like this. All right, so this is looking pretty good. I think we're nearing toward the ends of the session here. So did we go to this whole thing? We did. Okay, a few small things before we wrap this up is the electrical plans. If you are working in small residential project, maybe you do the electrical plans by yourself. Maybe not, but that's usually the task of an engineer. But in this case, I'm going to show you in the Arun's template here. You know, as architect or house designer, what we do with electrical stuff is usually pretty simple. And you have this D symbol here for the switch and for the outlet. And the thing you need to know is these are electrical fixtures. So in your visibility graphics menu, you need to make sure that electrical fixtures are activated. Okay? But in the other views, they should be deactivated. So this is my regular plan view. If I go to VG, electrical fixture, you can see it's not activated. Okay, so you don't want to see them in all your views. And for those who are wondering, you usually have a few good default families made by Autodesk. If you go to Insert, Load Family, I'm going to go to Electrical, MEP, Connect. Is it this one? Maybe it's switched. Terminals. Anyway, you can have a look at all these families. For some reason, maybe it's different from the new 2021. In the older version, it was an architecture folder, but you can have a look at these families. But usually, you know, it's the switch and it's the outlet, so not that complicated. I do have a few custom families I've made for Arun, like smoke alarm and vent for bathrooms, for example. So we're getting to the end here. Another cool thing, I made in custom template. Here is the north arrow. So sadly, we cannot directly link the true north value that you have in your project to this title block. So this use a parameter here, but this is pretty cool. If I enter a value, you can see that true north moves around. So the project north is always on top for sure. But with this parameter, you can rotate your true north value. And the way I did it, it's basically an embedded family. So I made this family. It's actually a nested family. And then I've set an angle rotation base on the reference plane. So I don't have time to go to the whole creation family process, sadly. But just looking at the question, when the VG is grayed out, how can we deactivate the electrical? That's a great question. If I go to my electrical plans, you know this, it's true. I went to VG and it's all grayed out. That's because when it's like this, it's because there's a view template in the view. You can see there's a view template, electrical plans right here. That is assigned. So it's basically to have consistent views. And you can go to model here, and then you can activate or unactivate. But that's going to affect all the views that are using this specific project template. So one final thing, I had hoped that I had more time to cover this. I teased about it on LinkedIn and on Facebook, I think. But I've worked quite a lot on this schedule here. It's a spatial separation schedule. So I want to have time to show the whole thing, and it's not necessarily complete, but it's a cool thing. It's usually a code requirement to calculate the openings for each walls and to see if you respect the code for the max opening percentage. So I'm going here. And the way I did it, I had to use a little trick. I had to create, I'm going to browse. It's not this one, this one. Sorry, just a second. Oh yeah, so this is the general parameter. I had to create all of this. The building side, the limiting distance, the max openings in the wall area. And all of these parameters are assigned to the project. It's a project information. So you fill it up manually. So it's not very BIM process since they are manually entered. But the effect is still pretty cool. And then the building side are assigned to the windows. Let me show you an example here. So I have to create, it's still a work in progress, but let's say I know that number 1 means the south elevation, and I have a building side parameter here that is assigned to 1. You can see all the windows are assigned to parameter number 1. And here it automatically calculates the area of each window on the specific elevation, and it would give a percentage value. And the way I had to do it, this is not fully scheduled. It's actually in 2 parts. Here, this is a schedule, but this is a title block. So I created a title block family with a bunch of labels. So these are values that you can type in manually in the project. Let me show this to you. So let's say I know that the west side limiting distance is 4 feet, for example, and the max opening is 30%, just like this. And then the wall opening, let's say it's 400. There seems to be a little issue for some reason. It used to work. But anyway, maybe it's still not final. When it is, I'll post a tutorial about it for sure. But basically, this calculated wall area and the actual openings provides an opening percentage. So this is more a tease than anything else. When it's complete, I'll provide a full tutorial about this. So else, I went through pretty much the whole thing, looking around if there's any final questions. Else, we're going to wrap this up. It's been a while already. It's quite a lot of information. I really hope I didn't go too fast. I know I kind of did, but you can always rewind. And if you like the template that I've showcased, once again, go to revitpure.com/template, where you can purchase the template I've been using in this tutorial. It's for $99. Or you can also get it with the Basics Learning package. If you like this kind of tutorials, you like the blog posts, or you like the pamphlets, you will love this package. And it also does include a template for $149. So yeah, make sure to check out revitpure.com. So having a final glance of the questions. Mark Ryan asks, are there a couple of different ways to complete the calculations? Some ways account for the glass area when others are based on the unprotected opening size. Yeah, well, yeah, with Rune, I did use that. Let me show you something. I'm going to switch this, going to answer this question, then it's done. Let me show, where is it? Yeah, on this, yeah, this schedule. So I do have a field here called glass area. If I double click here, let me highlight the window. So if I go to the type of this window, there's a parameter called glass area percentage. And the percentage value is multiplied by the area of the window. So it calculates the glass area instead. So you can set up the percentage. So you know which, if you have a 3x4 window, well, only 80% of the window is glass. So you can use this to calculate the area, which is good for code requirement. Looking at the other questions, Runes asked, can you please start using WhatsApp? Maybe we'll see about that. Okay, that's it for now. That's enough. So I hope that everyone enjoyed the show. That was a lot of fun for me. So much stuff. And for the upcoming shows, I've got 2 shows booked for the next Revit Pure Live, number 4 and number 5. In one episode, we're going to talk about a new version of Enscape. So for people who like renderings, this should be a lot of fun. And I've got a special guest that I'm going to announce soon. And we're going to be talking about schedules, advanced schedule tricks. That should also be quite fun. But for now, go to Revit Pure YouTube channel to look at the previous episode. And make sure to check our website. That's it for now. Thanks for everyone to join in.